Hello, welcome to Math with Mr. Dobrescu to the rescue. Today we are going to look at using the distributive property to solve an equation. This is one of the most important properties in mathematics. So we are going to use today the distributive property to solve equations. Let's take a look at this equation here. We have 2 times 1 minus 5x in a parenthesis plus 4 equals negative 8. And again, our goal is to solve for the variable, which is x. And today we are going to go through a couple of steps in order for us to solve this equation. And step number 1 is, anytime we have parentheses in an equation, our first step would be to use the distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. So step number 1 would be to use the distributive property first. So we are going to first use the distributive property in order for us to get rid of those parentheses. And I want you to draw arrows from 2 to 1 because we are going to distribute 2. We are going to multiply 2 times 1, and then we are going to multiply 2 times negative 5x. Then draw another arrow from 2 to negative 5x. And now we are going to get rid of those parentheses by distributing 2 over 1 and over negative 5x. And let's multiply. 2 times 1 becomes 2. So now here we have 2. And then here we have positive times a negative becomes a negative. So minus 2 times 5 becomes 10x. 2 times 5x becomes 10x. So we have 2 minus 10x. No more parentheses. You see, we got rid of the parentheses. Plus 4 equals negative 8. So our first step was to use the distributive property first in order for us to get rid of the parentheses. Now, after we use the distributive property, our second step would be to, in this case, combine the like terms. We are looking to see if we have any like terms in this equation. And remember, like terms, they have to be on one side of the equation. So if you draw a line here on this equation, and if we are looking to the left side of the equation, we see that 2 and 4 are like terms, so we can combine them together. 2 and 4. And they are both positives. So because they are both positives, we are going to add 2 plus 4 first. So 2 plus 4, we get 6, right? So we get 6. And also now we have the negative 10x. So we have negative 10x, which stays in the equation. 6 is positive, plus 6 equals negative 8. One more time. We are going to combine 2 and 4. That becomes positive 6. And we still have the negative 10x, which was the only term on this side of the equation that for now stays in the equation. So step number 2 was combine like terms. So combine the like terms. And of course our like terms were 2 and positive 4. And now let's take a look at step number 3. Step number 3 would be to subtract 6 on both sides of the equation. We are going to undo the addition here by subtracting 6 on both sides, because if we do that, we are going to get rid of the 6 on this side of the equation, and eventually we are going to be able to solve for the variable. So let's subtract 6 on both sides. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. Okay, so step number 3 was subtract 6 on both sides. On both sides of the equation, we subtracted 6, and here we used the subtraction property of equality. We don't have room here to write it, but the property is called subtraction property of equality. Whatever we subtract to one side of the equation, we have to subtract to the other side of the equation to keep the equation in a balance. So here, positive 6 and negative 6 cancels out, and we are left over with negative 10x equals, and now here we have negative 8 and negative 6, and remember in this case we are combining negative 8 and negative 6 together, and because we have negative 8 and combining 6 more negatives, here we are going to end up with negative number, but bigger number, and we are adding 8 plus 6 is 14, negative 14. Okay, negative 14 right there. And now, step number 4 would be to divide both sides by negative 10. Here we have negative 10 times x equals negative 14. Okay, so in this case here, we are going to divide both sides by negative 10 in order for us to get the x positive on this side of the equation. But whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side of the equation. Okay, so step number 4 would be to divide negative 10 on both sides. So we are going to divide negative 10 on both sides, and again negative 10 divided by negative 10 becomes a 1x, or just x, equals, and here we have negative 14 divided by negative 10. Negative divided by a negative becomes a positive, so we are going to end up with a positive answer. But here we see that we can simplify 14 and 10 by dividing the top number by 2. 14 divided by 2 becomes 7, and 10 divided by 2, actually by 2. So we have 7 at the top, over 10 divided by 2 becomes 5. So the answer is 7 over 5. X equals 7 over 5, and that's our answer, because 14 divided by 2 becomes 7, and 10 divided by 2 becomes 5. And now the goal would be to check our answer to see if we got the right answer, if we get the true statement. And let's do that. So now instead of x, we are going to plug in 7 over 5. So here we are going to plug in 7 over 5 for x. Okay? And I'm going to write a little bit smaller because I want to keep all the work on the same slide here. So we have here, we have 2 times 1 minus 5 times, now 7 over 5, 7 over 5, that's our x, plus 4, and that should equal negative 8. Okay, I put all the work over here because we don't have much room here on this slide, but again, we multiply 2 times 1 minus 5 times 7 over 5 instead of x, plus 4 should equal negative 8. And let's see if that is the case. Now here we can see that 5 and 5 cancels out, right? And now we have 2 times, now we have here negative 1, okay, negative 1 times 7 becomes negative 7, so that becomes 1 minus 7 plus 4. And all of these should equal negative 8. Negative 8. Let's see if that is the case. And now, of course, we are going to work the parenthesis first here. So we have 1 minus 7, that becomes negative 6. So we have 2 times negative 6 plus 4 should equal negative 8. Of course, multiplication comes first. 2 times negative 6 becomes negative 12 plus 4 equals negative 8. And of course, negative 12 plus 4 becomes negative 8. Negative 8 equals negative 8, and we get a true statement. And because we got a true statement, we know with certainty that 7 over 5 is the solution of our equation. Okay? Make sure you understand all these steps here. Here we have to use the distributive property. We multiply 2 times 1 minus 10 plus 4 equals negative 8. And those are the steps we used in order for us to get to the solution. First step, use the distributive property first. Distributive property is one of the most important properties in mathematics. And please remember that. Anytime we have parentheses, we are going to use the distributive property. And then we are going to combine the like terms. Like here, we combine 2 and 4. We got a 6. And then we have to subtract 6 on both sides. And finally, we divided 10 on both sides of the equation in order for us to get the answer. X equals 7 over 5. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you. And you can watch it several times. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with anyone who is still struggling with solving equation involving the distributive property. Again, distributive property is one of the most important properties in mathematics. Thank you all so much again, and please stay tuned for our next video. All the best to you.